There we go. Covey,
well done, Jake.
No, we're big time now. We've got our own intros and everything.
Oh, mate, that was quality, though, wasn't it? That was quality. Well played, Jack. Well played, Jake, for doing that, mate. Appreciate that so much.
Exactly. What a quick turnaround time as well. So massive respect to you, Jake, as well. But everyone watching, thank you for joining us again. Another week. How you been, Cove? You good?
Yeah, all right, mate. All right. Busy. Buzzing for this show again. They seem to be coming around a lot quicker lately.
Yeah.
Because of obviously the lockdown, just sit there doing nothing and just waiting for Saturday to come.
Pretty much. Like I've been seeing throughout the week, like you've been planning it out like crazy. So massive respect to you. And then when the first guest got announced, then the second one, I was like, come on, Saturday, hurry up. And finally we're here. I was like, yeah. So it's good because it's something to look forward to. I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Will agree with that as well. But it's something good and positive to look forward to, that we can speak to legends of the game and talk about their journey. So
yeah, exactly. It's getting we're getting a lot more feedback as well lately.
Yeah.
There's a lot of positivity on Twitter about the show.
Yeah.
Which we really appreciate. We're getting messages from celebrities as well now.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
Shout out as well to my pal Johnny Fisher and his family. Hopefully they're tuned in tonight. There's loads of people, that I've been getting. I'm surprised by the messages that I've been getting, like people saying, "Oh yeah, we tune in every week," and it's good, it's good.
No, listen, man. Of course it's good. Why are you surprised for, man? Like, it's good. People are watching. It's good laugh, and it's good stories as well. Do you know what I mean? It's good people that might not necessarily get the accolades they deserve or just the praise they deserve. So it's good.
Even next week's show is four already, mate. We'll be announcing the guests and that tomorrow, but the lineup is done already. So we're already working on like 2 weeks. The week after that, that's got guests on.
There we go.
You know what I mean? We've got people asking now. And
let's not worry about next week. Let's worry about this week because we've got plenty to worry about this week. And look, I'm just gonna not spoil this, bro. It's too much because the guy's waiting already backstage. This is how on time he is. I love that punctuality.
Professional all day. See.
Should we bring him in now, or should we just let him wait a little bit longer? I don't know.
Keep him waiting a little bit. Keep him waiting.
Sorry, I'm just gonna wait a little bit longer. But
let the public wait.
We can in as a whole. There's certain things that have been going on, especially within Grassroots. Like I don't know if you've seen the Robbie Savage thing. That kind of threw me off guard a little bit. I don't know if you've seen.
The trials, the scouting trial thing.
Yeah, the trial.
I think he got lured into that one a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah.
It didn't. On the actual main advert didn't mention anything about the $8,000, did it? Only when you delved right in.
Yeah.
I think he might have got caught with his trousers down a little bit there.
Exactly. For me, because again, he came across so positive, especially in the last 2 lockdowns. It's kind of like the quote unquote grassroots savior, if you like. And then for me to kind of have your name attached to that, and obviously I know the reasons why they did it. Obviously, look at the following and all the rest of it, but it just it's kind of the wrong time to bring it out, especially. Do you know what I mean? Like, after a pandemic, people are low on money. To be saying $8,000, regardless of what it's for or whatnot, it's a bit. Yeah. Do you really want to be doing it right now? But
it's a bit. I think he just got caught out there. It's easy. I don't know. Well, I don't know really. I haven't looked into it in too much detail, but it's easy to get caught like that on Twitter with a tweet, with a retweet. You can retweet something. You can retweet a picture.
Yeah.
And then look at the account that you've retweeted, and you think, oh, hold on a minute, he's just like like a serial killer, or just a right wrong one, and you've just retweeted him onto your timeline.
Exactly.
So it's easily done, but parents and children have got to watch out for the little small print on things like that. Definitely.
Exactly. I don't know if you've seen anything else that might have come across.
Yeah, well, the Ollie Bayliss thing again. A shout out to Ollie. He's been amazing, hasn't he, throughout this whole thing. And there's chat with Apple, the tweet that Apple put out as well about whether he's obviously heard something from inside the FA regarding the steps below step 3, separating from the FA, which it's going to be, it'll be a massive, there will be uproar. But I was speaking to Kears about it earlier, and I think it might not be all that bad. It might not be all that bad because the FA have done nothing really for clubs below sort of step 4 anyway, step 3, step 4 anyway.
Yeah.
We've sort of been like the forgotten people.
Exactly.
And maybe putting it into some other people's hands and restructuring the whole thing again. Like I said, when I stopped playing, when I came back into football after 8-9 years, I was amazed by the restructure and what a mess it was. And there was, when I played, you had the furthest you had to go was probably an hour, and that was a cup game. And now these teams are travelling an hour and a half, 2 hours for a league game. It's mental. So maybe it's the kick up the arse it needs. Who knows?
Maybe it might be the blessing in disguise it needs. But yeah, right, Covey, you ready?
Yes, bring him in.
Because I'm ready. I've got my standard gin.
San Miguel'd up.
I've got a bit of Evian water as well, because obviously got to stay hydrated. I already had my pizza. That's the reason why I'm sweating like a pig, by the way. People in the chat, I'm sure you're ready as well. So again, we got to bring him in. Here he is, ladies and gents.
Yeah, look at him. How handsome he is. I forgot how handsome he was.
Look at him.
Fella for 43, mate. You know what I mean?
It is. You are looking good, mate. Looking good. How are you, bro? All right?
I'm all good, Cove. You?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, really good. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
Hey, what else is
Absolutely.
What else is there on a Saturday night in lockdown, mate? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, exactly. The chase has run its course a little bit now, isn't it? It's getting a bit boring.
Still want Sopranos, mate. That's what I'm on. So that's all good.
Good.
Now, I want to take you two back to when you first met. I've got a couple of pictures that I'm going to put on screen right now. So, look at these handsome boys here. Look.
The mighty manor.
The mighty manor. And then we've got this team here as well.
That's the best.
Look at him.
You know what I mean?
That was the best team around, wasn't it?
The names in there.
Talk to me about some of the names in there.
So in that side there, you've got like Jason Tyndall, Michael Black. You know, obviously played for Arsenal. Some good players. To be fair, I think every single player from that side went on and did an apprenticeship at a club somewhere. You know, did their YTS. Obviously, I think there was a few that dropped out of the non-league after that, but that was a good side. Had some really good times, and I was just lucky enough to be involved in it.
Talk to me about St. Mirren's Club, because it's got this name of, you know, producing people left, right, and centre that go on to, you know, play in the Premier League. What is it like as a club?
When I was involved in it, football grassroots levels changed a lot since sort of the 80s when we were playing in it. But it was just a good club. You know, it was the best club at that age group that everybody wanted to play for. You know, and every year you'd go and you'd get one or two new players in that make the side even better than what it was last year. You know, it was just. I don't know what the draw is with it, but I'm a big believer in looking at obviously London as a place. I think if you go in, sort of get 14, 15, 16-year-old lads that have got from inner city London that have got that drive and that hunger to succeed at something, and it's amazing how many players come out from inner city London and make something of their career in football. You know, and I think that's what Simrab sort of their draw was. It was that sort of East End football club that wanted to make things good for people.
And you played alongside, was it Lee Bowyer as well, was in your side as well?
Yeah, Bo, about 14, 15, Bo come and played for us. He was one of them players that came in at sort of at the end of the season. He was playing for a team called Asda, I think it was, something like that. His dad was the manager, and we'd beat them every week, sort of thing. So he's into the Bo was brilliant, and like people like you play against people like Frank Lampard was playing for Heath Park at the time, at that same level, and you knew there was sort of 4 or 5 players at that age group that you think, yeah, you've got half a chance. I was never one of them, but there was a lot better players than me around, and you could see that obviously Bo was one, Michael Black was another one who was a great player, and they went on obviously good careers in the game.
Mate, don't be so humble, mate. You had a fantastic career, and you was one of the best players in that team as well.
So listen, Covey, I was a bang average footballer, mate. I'm never, listen, say bang average. I was okay.
You've done your job. You was a defender. You was a header volley.
I could hit the ball. I was really good in the air. I could play a pass. I was never the quickest, so I read the game quite well. And the biggest thing that's going out of the game, and you'll know this when you obviously work with the level that you go, there's no talking in the game anymore.
No.
The change rooms are so. Let's say the change rooms are. When you're out on the pitch, it's like you don't know the person playing next to you.
Yeah.
And that was why I played on until I was 42, because I could just sort of organise, talk to people, and get people doing my running for me a little bit. And that was something I'd always done from when I was a kid. I was always a talker. I was always sort of a leader. I was always a captain, and just took it on through my career.
So when you two used to play, who used to get the better of each other? Come on, be honest.
They used to get the better of us a lot. There was one game in the semi-final. We beat the Doris Barker Cup. We beat you 3-1, and then we went on to win the cup. But no, Semab used to just smash us all the time.
We had our moments, to be fair. I thought we'd win the league 9 times out of 10, and we'd always do well in the cups. But that's the beauty of football. On any given day, somebody can beat anyone.
It was Heath Park and Semweb, wasn't it? They just used to run away with it.
Yeah, Heath Park were decent, to be fair. I say because Frank Lampard was in. People like Danny Shipp as well. I think
Danny Shipp up front.
I know that was probably the two at our age. Those probably the 2 top sides. And
Danny was like a 30-year-old at 12, wasn't he?
Wasn't he? Massive beard and everything.
A big beard. But the last time we actually played against each other, I don't know if you remember this. It was at the Den. It was at the old Den, Colborough Lane, and it was an in-house game with the youth side at Millwall.
Yeah. How old would it have been then? 15, 16, or
I think probably 14. Yeah, 15, 16. And you left about probably 4 or 5 months after I joined Millwall, and you went to Orient. Yeah, but I know when it was Millwall was a big thing back then, wasn't it? When you got spotted for Millwall, it was
our team as well. And
exactly.
I was lucky. My old man was brilliant for me because kids get carried away with playing for professional teams and stuff, and the hype of it all. But my old man never let me sign. I didn't sign a schoolboy form with anyone. He said, "No, good enough at 16. You'll be all right. He'll do it." And I was 15, 16, I had a pick of 3 or 4 clubs. And in the end, Orient said, we're not going to sign you as a YT, we'll sign you as a pro. And it was probably the best decision for me because I made my debut sort of at 17 rather than getting lost in a sort of youth team sort of 17. So it was perfect. My dad was the best one.
Yeah, he's a ledge. Yeah, he's a ledge. I remember your dad really well.
Yeah, he's
every game.
I played 700 games. I think he watched 690 of them. You know what I mean? Traveling to Castle and places like that on a Tuesday evening, and travelling back and going to work the next day. He just loved it. And it was just nice to see him at every game, really.
We've got a couple of early questions in there for you. I've got one from David Morgan. Says, "What's the biggest highlight in Darren's footballing career?"
Do you know, it's hard because I always wanted to play for England. I got in a couple of provisional squads when I was about 25, when Sven and Sven and Fabio Capello were the managers. So I got in a couple of provisional squads, but never sort of got that opportunity. Played for the under-21s, which was brilliant. You know, I got shirts up in the house of playing against like Argentina and France in '98 in the Toulon tournament, which was fantastic. I think as a kid, you just obviously wanting to score in a cup final is one of the biggest things you dream of as a kid, and I was lucky enough to do that. So I'll say that was probably the highlight of my career, was scoring in the World Cup.
Who was that against as well? Some muggy team, wasn't it?
Last minute.
Oh, so Liverpool.
weren't too bad. But I said it was just the way it was last minute. I had to wait about 4 minutes for it to take it and everything, and obviously the build up to the ball. But it's amazing. Sort of you speak to kids nowadays, and they're like, "You did that." And it was just.
How old was you, Dal, in that? Because you look quite young in that video.
2004.
24.
Yeah. But yeah,
did you?
24. Yeah.
Did you take a penalty in the shootout as well, or not?
Yeah, I scored that as well.
You scored. Because who did you miss? Andy Johnson, wasn't it? Adam Johnson missed. Andy Johnson.
Remember Martin Granger?
Yeah, he worked. Martin Granger worked for me. When he stopped playing, he worked for me. I trained him as a van driver. How fun is that?
Yeah. He works as he's a train driver now.
Mate, he was playing in the Premier League 3 years before, and then he was out in a van with me delivering parcels around Paddington.
I got a story about Granger, right? Literally, he finished playing. He had an injury. He finished playing about 32. He was. He said, "Percy, I really fancy being an estate agent. I want to go and be an estate agent." I went, "Oh, brilliant, mate. You'll love it." Right? First day, he walked into this estate agent's got the job and all that. And they said, "Yeah, Mr. Granger, you've got to steal these leaflets. You got to go around that new estate. You got to post all these leaflets through the door." Up to me, yeah, walked out. He's a good lad, Granger. He was probably one of my best mates in football, if you know what I mean, at that time when I was with him at Birmingham. So, yeah, good lad.
Speaking about Birmingham, Dal, tell us about when you broke your wrist at training.
Well, we always had a thing with Trevor Francis was the manager, mate, right? And this Tricky, whatever, we always called him Tricky. He was a great player. Even at like 50 years of age when he was manager, he'd join in the five-a-side and he'd like try and meg you and everything. He'd unreal player. But we used to have a little thing going on, like out of the fine pool. If you drew blood against him, right, you got a little bit of money out of the fine pot. So you got a few fine pot. When he joined in, I used to smash the hell out of him. But he was that good, you couldn't get anywhere near him, you know. But there was just one game you try your hardest not to let him score, and he hit this shot and he was going in top corner. And I've sort of stretched my arm out and tipped it over I wasn't in goal or anything. I just didn't want him to score. And I tipped it over the bar. But as soon as I'd done that, I just you know, with that initial pain of breaking something, I was like, ran straight into the physio, and that was it. I was out for 6 weeks with a broken wrist. One of them, I don't want to be about 23, 24 at the time, and just you do stupid things. And after that, I used to take it easy in training. I used to step off of it a little bit and just stay kicking people for games.
We had we've got a question from someone on Twitter called Jade. Wants to know she's a Birmingham fan.
Yeah.
She wants to know who's the best player you played with at Birmingham.
Christophe Dugarry, right? Honestly, I never used to like fools. I never took fools gladly. I used to just say it as it was. And Christophe Dugarry, the first year we got promoted to the Premier League, right? I think we was something like 17th in the league at Christmas. And Steve Bruce went and got Christophe Dugarry on a 6-month contract on, he must have been on fortunes compared to everybody at the club because nobody was sort of earning mega money. He came in and unbelievable. He kept us up single-handedly, mate. He was a good, obviously won the World Cup with France and that. He was such a good player. He was brilliant. But the worst thing about it was, obviously, once he had kept us up, he signed a 2-year deal, still on mega money. And the next pre-season he came back, he didn't do any pre-season. He went and played in some testimonial game in Monaco or somewhere like that and didn't come back for 3 weeks. And
I remember that.
It just, listen, for 6 months he was unreal, mate. Best player by a million miles I've ever played with. But after that, he just sort of tossed it off. And I never I couldn't take that because I was wanting I had to be at the top of my game every game to be where I was, and he just sort of fobbed it off as if it was like on a whim and a prayer. And so we had a few fallings out, and I think by the end of that year he'd left the club, and because he just didn't want it enough, and that was hard to take. But Christoph de Gary was unreal. Obviously, I was lucky enough to play with Aaron Ramsey as well. When I was coming back from an injury at Cardiff, and he was 16 years old. He had the day off school, was playing this reserve game against, I think he was playing Swindon or something. I was coming back from an injury, and I remember Paul Wilkinson, the old centre forward. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah.
He was our reserve team manager, and he went, Percy, he said, "Have a look at this kid. Right, he's unreal." He turned. He was sitting in the corner of the changing room, big fluffy hair and all that, and he did not look like a footballer. And went out, mate, centre midfield against Swindon's reserves, and absolutely run the show, mate. So ended up one top bins, like 20 minutes to go, and just brilliant. And then after that, he sort of from that day on, he was in and around the first team, training with us every day, and he deserved his move to Arsenal because he was phenomenal.
So you played for some the clubs that you played for. They also had that thing in common where they had a mental fan base.
Yeah,
they had all crazy fans, mate. Yeah, every single club you played for, mate, was just mental. If you had a tear up, if you took the hardest geezer from every club you played for, I think you'd have the hardest hooligan side in the world. It was nuts, mate. I don't know what. Yeah, but who was the nuttiest out of a lot of them? Who was the nuttiest?
I don't know. I hate when people ask about who the best fans and that, because to be fair, you don't want to. I played, as I said, I played for some brilliant fans. You know what I mean? And obviously, lucky enough to play for my boyhood club, and obviously, up until I was sort of 15, 16, I followed Millwall. I was stood on the halfway line at the old Den. You know what I mean? So. But the Cardiff fans, you know what? The Cardiff fans are unreal as well. Like every away game, they'd take 2,000 fans, no matter what. Be Middlesbrough away or somewhere like that, and they'll take 2,000 fans. And all they used to do was meet up at wherever it was. They'd meet up at 6 o'clock in the morning at a pub, right? And it was just a 24-hour bender for them. They'd bring the coach on the way up there, get paralytic, and drink on the way, and that was it. They'd out of the valleys, and they were brilliant. Do you know what I mean? So, as I said, I played for some Birmingham fans who were superb, the old Zulu Army and that, I'd never want to say who the best was because obviously they were brilliant. I never had a good time there at all, Sheffield Wednesday, but to have 32,000 people in Hillsbury, against Sheffield United, that is an unbelievable atmosphere.
I bet.
That is a club that is a sleeping giant. They should be in the Premier League for definite.
Yeah.
Got a couple more questions here. Starting with Jake. Says, ask Darren about scoring for Staines against Orient in the FA Cup. 6-1 Orient and his time at Orient as well. So double-weighted question there.
Yeah, when I dropped to non-league, it was I got to the FA Cup first round 3 times. I played for like 5 years, which was brilliant, And obviously going back to Orient, I think we were 3-0 down when the ball just came at the edge of the box. It was pretty simple, just lifted it into the back over the keeper's head. The keeper had messed up and scored. But obviously, it's one of them, what do? Do you celebrate or not? And it was nice to go a bit. And then as I was jogging back to the halfway line, there was about sort of 2,500, 3,000 Orient fans there, and got like a bit of a standing ovation from them as well. So that was nice. But that was probably 25 years after I'd played for Orient as well. So it was nice for them to remember me and play for a club that you was lucky enough at 17 years of age to make your debut and give you that opportunity in football.
Got another question here from Mr. Morgan saying that's the toughest player you've played against.
Throughout my career, you don't appreciate it enough when you're doing it, but played against some great players like Ruud van Nistelrooy, Beckham, people like that, Zola.
Levels. This is levels, isn't it?
Go on, keep going.
And it's just when you go out there, and one of my biggest regrets from football is not swapping shirts. I've got a couple of shirts that I did, but I thought I'd earned the right to be on the pitch with them. You know what I mean? And I just thought, I'm not going to ask them for their shirt. If they want to swap shirts with me, we'll swap shirts. But they've never asked me, so I never asked them. You know, and when you're out there and when you're in the thick of it, I say to like the young lads that I coach now, every time you cross that white line, you're going to war with people. You know, and I think that's something that's going out of the game. Everything's too nice when you see people taking hands at half time and that. For that 90 minutes, there's no friends in football. You've got to go out, and if it's your mum, you go out and kick them. You know, and that's the way you have to play football. It's the harshest job in the world. But so yes, but going back to the question anyway, it was probably Zola was the best one, I think. On the day that I played against him, he had Ida Johnson up top, and he was playing in the hole at Chelsea away. And I was at West Brom at the time, and we were 3-0 down after about 20 minutes, and he absolutely tore us one. He was phenomenal, mate. He's one of them. He just could find pockets. He just, as a centre half, he didn't know where to come out of the hole to go tight on him, screaming at people like Robbie Savage in front of you and that to try and get tight on him. And it was, there's some great players. And to be fair, I did well against most of them, but sometimes they was just that cut above you on that day, and Zola was one of them.
I've got a couple of questions here, mate. The sender won't let me tell you who they're from, though.
Glenn Wilkie or something like that.
You're saying, ask him about his when he was watching your car float away at Cardiff. When I played for Cardiff for 2 years, do you remember a lad called Ricky Shimaka? No, not really.
Played for Villa and that, played for the 21s. Well, he signed for Cardiff, and we travelled from Warwickshire, like Stratford upon Avon, down to Cardiff every day, the pair of us. It was like 2 hours there, 2 hours back. But that's what we did. We just used to have a laugh. So one day, it was like middle of summer, July. It was Friday afternoon. We're travelling back from Cardiff. Motorway's chocker, so we can't get off the road. So let's go down the back roads, all sort of the country lanes. And we come to a village called Broadway, and it had like a brook running through it, like one of these sort of rivers, like little streams. And as we've come up to this stream, it's quite high and it's running quite quick. And the other side of it is this bloke in a BMW, and so we've got out. I said, mate, how big is it? Is it all right? Can you drive through it? He went, well, I got through it, and then my car cut out, so I think you'll be all right. And he had a E-Class Merc, so nice car, probably worth about 40 grand. This car, right? So as he drove into this water, all of a sudden the water's rippling along, hitting the side of this car, and his car just floated like that. Water's hitting the car, and there's this big sort of bush up on the side. So all of a sudden the water's hitting the car. He can't get out of the side because it's up against the bush, and I can't get out of my door because the water's hitting the door like that. So to be fair, for the first sort of couple of seconds, you're laughing because the car's there, and all of a sudden the water just started coming through the door and started coming up.
Oh, mate.
Where you sitting down, it's coming up to your waist. I thought, how am I going to get out of this? So in the end, I sort of got out the door and I held open my legs. Ricky sort of climbed over me, stood in the thing. He held the door open for me, and I got out. And to be fair, the water was like chest high, and it's ripping against the car. Got out of the water and just left his car there. Got in this village pub, and the people were brilliant, to be fair. They sort of took our clothes off us. We were sitting there in towels and everything like that in front of the fire. And there was nothing we could do. So we stood there and just sat there and just got pissed for the afternoon. I think Rayson might have been on the telly sitting there having a few drinks. And it got to about 8 o'clock that night, and obviously our clothes were dry. We got ready, got out, couldn't find his car anywhere. His car ended up about 2 miles up the road in the river up the road. We ended up with the police give us a lift home that night. It was unbelievable, mate. It was just like little stories, you know what I mean? Like,
Can you imagine that happening now? You'd be viral all over social media, mate.
Can you imagine a Premier League player doing that now? It'd be all over the press. It'd be everywhere. It was just one of them things. It was a laugh. But yeah.
And what about your pink boots at Port Vale?
Well, me and you, what happened at Port Vale in January? I left Plymouth and I went and signed for Port Vale with Mickey Adams, and obviously he signed Lee Hughes at the same time. So obviously me and Hughes had like loads of scuffs together when when you're playing. And we were good pals, you know what I mean? We became good pals. I used to pick them up on the way up, travelling up to Bulk Vale for training and stuff. And second last game of the season, we got promoted. So he said to us, he said, what should we do? We need to do something funny, Percy, for the last game. Wickham away it was, for the last game of the season. He said, I'm going to buy you a pair of boots. You've got to buy me a pair of boots. So he bought me, I've never, ever, and it's the only time I've ever wore anything other than black boots. So Wickham away, I'm walking out in these pink boots, and you can just see everyone, even like the fans, are like, what the hell has Percy got on his feet? Because I was always straight down the line, black boots, never wearing these things. I bought you this pair of plastic warrior boots. They were, you know. And in 10 minutes, his feet were just cut to rib. He had blood, and he had to come off after about 20 minutes because his feet were. You can't get away with it when you're 22, 23. You know what I mean? But that was it's good fun.
Wow.
Oh, mate. I want to say, I'm just going to. What's the biggest? Because what's the biggest when you went to like Chesham, Enfield Town, and teams like that? What was the biggest difference between the professional game to that level?
I think the professional attitude of the players. That for a little while, it took me a little while to get used to that. You know, people not turning up for training, people late. You know, and when you're, there are things that you have to. They're setting stuff. Don't be late. You know, and things like that. So it took a little bit of a while. Like people missing a game because they're on holiday in Barbados. You know, like going on here. It's the football season. No holiday in the football season. So that was hard to get around. But the other thing was, and people don't realise it, when you're playing in front of 30, 40,000 people, you can't hear a thing. You're just concentrating on the game totally. Right? When you're playing in front of 400, you can hear every word that everybody's saying. See you next year, everything. You know what I mean? You're shit. So you can hear everything. So, and I'd sort of, a few times, like, offered people out on the side of the pitch, and I'll see you in the bar afterwards. And actually go and see them in the bar, and they're like, no, I was only joking. Well, don't say it then.
Yeah, buy you a drink.
That's it. So that little things like that were strange, but listen, as much as anything, I never knew much about non-league football until I finished playing, and I'm so thankful for it because it let me play on for 5 more years. You know, because when I finished professionally, I just wanted to play football. I just love playing football. It's the best job in the world, and actually non-league football gave me the opportunity to carry on doing that till I was 42. So from that point of view, I owe non-league football a lot. Yeah.
Are you still involved with any clubs now?
I do Oxford's under 16, like 16s, 18s. So we do a day release program. I'm in on that. I'm a director of football at school, so I run one of these football scholarship programs at school. So yeah, it's all right, mate. I want to get into management, you know, but it's just getting the opportunity. At some stage, I'm going to have to jump ship and go into full-time football again and get the opportunity.
So when we're gonna get you and John Mackie signed for Swifts?
The way things are, and I'm keeping quite fit at the minute. I was thinking that do I stop the coaching and go back and playing football again?
Yes.
Done, mate. I can't do it anymore. I'll join in with the 18s at Oxford, mate. And to be fair, they run rings around you. They're so fit nowadays. And I where I was at 18 years of age, and I still like a bit of a beer and a drink when you were at the end of training. Not at the end of training, but on a Saturday night, and when you're sort of going on your Christmas do's and that, and they don't do that anymore. It's sort of gone out of the game, and I probably wasn't as professional. My attitude got me through a lot rather than my professionalism, if you know what I mean. Don't get me wrong, I trained every day like it was, but I never really went in a gym. But nowadays these boys are athletes. Yeah,
we've got a young boy, 16 years old, playing for us, young centre half. We've got him on loan, Ray Snares. Yeah. He's got a massive. He's so committed and dedicated to the game. He's running and he's listening. And what sort of advice would you give someone like him, mate? 16 years old, having his first season in men's football.
You know what, mate? I was the same at 16 years. I went to Barking and they would have been in like the Ryman Prem at the time at 16.
Right. Yeah.
And it was the best thing I ever did. For 2 months, you're standing there because I don't believe in all this. Listen, I'm involved in an academy, mate, but I don't think academy football. I think if you're 21, 22 years of age and you haven't played a first team game, you need to drop down and find your level somewhere. And that level might be non-league. You know, and there's too many players at the minute that are too easy. It's too easy to pick their money up at 21, playing 21's football, and they're nowhere near getting in anybody's first team. You know, and non-league football is brilliant for that. With Oxford, we've got half a dozen lads at Woking, Chippenham, Avon and Waterlooville, just going out and getting experience of playing men's football because you learn so much. And listen, for him, just enjoy playing football, mate. And what happens at 16 years of age, make mistakes, and it's just that learning process of like when you can take liberties and when you can't. You know, when it has got to find Rose Ed, when you have got to turn people around. You know, because nowadays football's it can be tippy tappy. You know, sometimes you have got to get it out of your feet and put it in the channel and get your team up the pitch and play that. You know, there's more than one way to win a football match, and these boys have got to learn. Yeah,
definitely, mate. Definitely.
Got a question here from Jake as well. He goes on to say, how did the move to IFK, is it Mariham? Is that in the Finnish League come about?
Oh, so I finished at Port Vale and I was doing pre-season at Northampton. Amy Bothroyd was manager, so I was living in Northampton at the time. And I played in Finland at 17. Once I made a debut at Orion, during that summer, I went out and played in Finland for 2 months. So rather than have a summer, I just went out and just carried on playing football. So I went out and played sort of 10, 12 games in the Finnish League. So that was that. And then one of my mates, Glenn Wilkie, he knows the chairman at EFC Mariehamn, so that's where he played. And they were just outside the Europa League places in the Finnish Premier League, and sort of got chatting to the chairman and the manager, and just went out there and played football for 3 months. It was it was nice, to be fair. It was sort of part of me starting my coaching journey as well, because there was nothing else to do. Like of an evening, they had their sort of 16s and 18s that were training in the evening. So I'd go along and do the training sessions with them as well. So it was part of my coaching journey as well. So it was good and enjoyed it, but it is the end of the earth. It's a lovely place.
Yeah.
I think you pretty much answered Richard's question, so I'm not going to ask that one. It was basically saying, what's the best advice you could give to a young player? But I think you just answered that pretty much a minute ago. But someone's suggesting that they should get together a Senrab Vets team. Is that a possible suggestion? I mean, with the amount of talent that's gone through the years in Senrab, possibly get a
Senrab Vets team would probably win Ryman Prem.
Even like the lads, and you'll probably know a few of these, Lil. Covey, like people like Lely Biada and people like
Lely, yeah.
Careers, you know what I mean? Like when Glenn Wilkie was another one. Like they just had really good non-league careers after. Obviously, didn't quite make it 18, 19 years of age in a professional club, but dropped down in 500-600 games of non-league football. You know, alongside being a black cab driver, we're sitting in Essex in £500,000 houses. You know what I mean? Yeah. Who's to say that they did it the wrong way? You know what I mean? They got a great career for themselves, playing football where they're like on a Saturday afternoon. You can enjoy a beer afterwards. Nicking sort of a couple of £100 a week and things like that. There's money to be earned in non-league football, and it's a standard of football.
Yeah, some of the money that people are earning now is ridiculous. There's like you're talking a couple of £1,000 a week.
It's scary, mate. So you train on Tuesday and Thursday night, play on a Saturday afternoon. Yeah. You're eating 1,500.
And your job as well. You're earning more than a pro.
Most young lads now, 21, 22 years of age, playing non-league football, don't have another job. They just have their football, and they train and they treat it like a professional, because the money you can nick £300 in some clubs if you're an half decent player. And they do. They go and sort of treat you as a professional, and that's how they do it, and try and get back into professional football that way. But it's who's to say that that's not the right way to go around things?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I spoke to you earlier, Dale, about that game, that Orient game against Chelsea.
Yeah,
Tommy, I don't know if you, mate.
That was at Orient. I
don't know. You must have told them that you didn't fancy it or something, and that's why they thought, oh, we'll get Billy Coveys from Leighton Pennant.
I never had that call with Patsy Holland and Tommy Cunningham were in, mate. I was like bomb squad. See you later. I never really played that. He didn't rate me as a footballer. And I was probably lucky that summer at Oxford and watched me the season before that. Dennis Smith came in and paid $100,000 for me. Otherwise, my career could have gone elsewhere. You know what I mean? It's funny how it works out. But
thank God it did, eh? Thank God it did.
Yeah, thank God it did. You know what I mean? Listen, I was lucky. But yeah, I can't see you playing centre half though, mate. You was too.
I walked in the changing room, and Tommy Conan went to me, "Have you ever marked Mark Hughes before?" I was like, "No, mate." Mate, they had Paul. There was in the squad. They had Mark Hughes, Paul Furlong, Gavin Peacock, Rude Hullet was on the side, Glenn Oddle, Dan Petrescu.
That's one of the top shirts, mate. You know what I mean?
I'm sitting there like, where's my letter? When are you going to send me a letter? Like, I'm still waiting for the phone call to come back from Stevie Shorey. He still said he's going to call me, but
he's a good lad. His son had a good career, didn't he, old Nicky?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah. All right, mate. I think we've pretty much covered everything, Dal. Like I say, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure.
We really appreciate it, mate.
Pleasure. Listen and enjoy the rest of the show. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be on. Anytime you're stuck for someone, just let me know.
Yeah, I might need a centre half as well when we get back to football, so I'll give you a call.
The way things are going in non-league, mate, it's probably not going to be this year either, is it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Scary, but yeah.
All right, mate.
Fun and hope everyone's
all
good.
Right, Dal. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you so much. Bye, mate.
Take care. Bye-bye. There we go.
Yeah, what a ledge. What a guy.
What a legend. You know what?
Mate.
The fun doesn't stop there. We've got our next guest waiting in the wings. But before we get into that, we've got a message from our sponsors, Covey.
Emery?
Yes.
Still good at the old football?
Tom, what are you doing Saturday night?
Obviously, isn't it? I'm watching Coveys Grassroots football show.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to join you.
Listen and make sure you watch it. It's Coveys Grassroots show. It's the nuts. Bosh.
Oh, mate, brilliant. Thank you to Tom Skinner. Thank you to Johnny Fisher as well.
Yeah, big shout out to Johnny Fisher's got a fight coming up soon as well. So obviously make sure you just tune in for that as well. So shout out to both of them as well for the nice, kind words and the promo as well. So I really appreciate that, lads. And if you're watching, thank you very much. And we'd like to have you on soon as well.
Yes.
So, yeah. Should we bring her on?
Mate, yes. Superstar. Another superstar.
You ready? She's doing some last minute prep. Is that what I'm seeing? Give her a thumbs up. There you go.
Hello.
Another legend. Look at it.
How are we both?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
How's lockdown treating you?
It's all right, really. Like, I mean, our football's still continuing, so we're classed as elite. So we're still in every day. Nothing really changes for us. But it's the family side of things. It's that probably you don't realise, I think, until you're told you can't go see them, how much you actually want to go and see them. But yeah, that's probably the most frustrating part. I'm quite like a chilled person anyway. I don't really go out anyway. So to be told I've got to stay in, I'm on the PlayStation and I'm happy. Do you know what I mean?
As a new management team settling in at West Ham. Yeah,
I mean it's for me. It was like very like nerve-wracking time, to be honest, because I've only had this situation once in my career before, where a manager has come in halfway through the season. So it was a bit like you didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I'm not his signing. Do you know what I mean? So there's so many things personally that I was thinking of am I going to lose the captaincy as well? But it's been like a breath of fresh air, really. We've come in, he's come in, he's just been on it from minute one. And obviously we had the Man City game called off last weekend. So it's our first game tomorrow with him in charge. But it's just nice. It's just a good change of environment, a positive change. You know what I mean? And I think it's what we needed, and we've just got to kick on now, really, because we shouldn't be sitting with the players that we've got. We shouldn't be sitting where we are in the league. Yeah,
definitely agree. So, Gilly, tell us about this young girl growing up in Birmingham. How did this all start? You know, you're probably one of the most decorated female footballers in the country. For me personally, it's an absolute honour. You know, you helped me with the wellbeing WhatsApp group that we set up.
Yeah.
So we've got to know each other like through that. But it's mate, to know, you know, you're a legend in the female game. So just tell us a bit how it all came about. You know, your first club and what sort of got you into playing in the first place, really.
Yeah. So I mean, I wasn't really interested in football when I was little. You know, like you see, like I see teammates now who are like kicking a ball at like 3 or 4. Like that wasn't me. Like I was everything else. I was interested in, like, I was the kid in school that was good at every sport. You know, the ones that the other girls look at and they're fuming because they can't run.
Envy people like, you know that.
I used to love playing football with the boys, like every lunchtime, and that's where it started. I think towards the end of primary school when I was about 9. And it's a funny story, really, because I remember sitting down with my dad. My dad used to play he was like one of the I don't know what they call them like back then, but he was like in the Millwall, but he was like the youth boys sort of thing.
Millwall schoolboys.
Like was it like the YTS or something?
Yeah.
He was basically that, but he was like probably the equivalent to like the 21s now, that level. Yeah. And he ended up he played centre back and left back, but he had really bad injuries. But he was like Millwall boy, like just full on thug hooligan, you know, one of them ones, the fighters who went there. And so I always grew up around football. And I remember sitting there watching it on the telly one day with him, and I said, like, Dad, I want to learn how to play football. And he's got 4 daughters, and so he's not got no son. So I think straight away his eyes lit up, like, yes, I've got my football now. And then he just said he sort of was like, my dad is brilliant, but he was definitely brilliant in the sense of he weren't going to be not wasting his time, but he wanted to see how serious I was, whether I was just do it as like a hobby sort of thing, or if I actually could be good at it. And he wanted to see how dedicated I was from an early stage. So he went to me, what I want you to do is, I'm not going to teach you nothing about football until you learn how to hold the ball in your foot. Just hold it. So I said, all right then. So I know 2-3 weeks I was outside the front door every day after school doing it. And I remember going to him, Dad, I've learned how to do it. And he says, come on and show me. And then he went, right, now you do it in your left foot. And obviously my left foot was weak. So I was like, a couple of months later, I went back to him and I said, come, like, what you gonna do with me now? Like, what have I got to learn? And he said, right, let's go. And he used to take me over Southwark Park. And he used to kick the ball as physically high. It probably would be child abuse now, because he used to boot it as high as he possibly could in the air. And he'd say, you head it. So he'd be standing there like waiting for it to drop. But he just said, like, growing up, girls playing football, he said, like, you want to be able to head like a boy. You want to be able to play like a boy and go up that way, because women's football and girls football back then was nothing like it is now. So we went over the park for a whole summer, just me and my dad, and then we went for football trials. And I trialled with Millwall under 10s, or under 12s at the time, but I was only 9. And I remember going, and that was the only trial I'd ever done. Like, I'd never been involved in a team. I didn't go like Grassroots or nothing like that. And I turned up, and all I remember doing is just running around the training pitch, just dribbling. That's all I did. I didn't know anything about passing. I didn't know nothing. And so we waited a couple of weeks, and then we got a letter. And my dad said, come on and let's open it up. Let's see what it's saying. and it said I'd got in. And I remember just sitting there going, Dad, I've got in. And he was like, shut up. No way have you got in. Because I weren't good. And but my manager that day must have seen something in me. And it just went from there, really. I was there, I spent about 3-4 years at Millwall.
Who was the manager there?
Tina Lightning.
Right, okay.
She was she done it. Basically, at Millwall, we had an under-12s team, and then we broke off to an under-10s team as well, because there was like quite a few 9-year-olds in there, like youngsters. So we did that. So I was in the 10s, and then when it came to going to the 12s, we had a 12A and a 12B. And 12A was all like the top girls, like they were the best players, and I was in 12B. But we weren't that good to start with, but we've become a really good team. Like I'd say 12B would have beat 12A at the end of the season.
Like Mighty Ducks. Like the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, I reckon we would have. But it was, so then it come to the point where we had a presentation evening, and I remember my mum who said it. My mum was like, my dad was the one who took me to every game, every training session. And my dad he didn't just like, he said, listen, if you was rubbish, I'd tell you was rubbish. He said, but there's something there. And I remember my mum coming to watch me play in Regis Park. We had like a festival. And she was watching me, and she just pulled me in at the end. Like we went home, she pulled me in the front room, and she just said, like, I don't know what your dad sees in you, yeah? She said, but you are awful, right? And I remember sitting there, and I was like, she was like, I've got to be brutally honest with her. She said, I don't know what he sees. And then I remember like sitting there, and I got really defensive, and I just said, like, I am a good player. And then she went, well, you need to start showing more effort. And she said, like, I remember this is the day. And my mum goes, I weren't horrible like that now. And I repeat the story. But I remember it being a day where something just clicked in my head. And I remember then going on, and I went then to centre back. I was playing left wing at the time. And I remember that day, and my dad said to my mum afterwards, it was like I was a different girl afterwards. Like I was at the front of the line in training rather than being at the back. Like something just changed in my mentality. So my mum takes credit now for where I am, because she always says it was the talk that changed me.
Of course.
But it was cruelty, you know. It was probably harsh now, but at the time it was something where it was just, I needed that honesty rather than my dad probably being like, she's the best player in the team. My mum was just like, I don't know what you see now. Like, it's savage, but it hit home, I think, that all the training and the travelling that my dad was doing for me, and I was just sort of being a little bit lackluster with it. Do you know what I mean? So
bit like good cop, bad cop, kind of sort of thing there,
Yeah, no, definitely. So then, so then I was at Millwall, and then it was actually my mum who said, I remember at a presentation night, my mum, we were sitting on the table, and she just said, like, Gilly, I know you don't want to leave Millwall. I know you love it here. Your friends are all there. She said, but we feel that this is just where you've got to the point now. I mean, you're not progressing anymore. Like, this is where you have to make that decision, where if you want to play football and you want to go on to be the best, you're going to need to leave. And I remember just crying and saying, I don't want to leave my mates. Like, I'm Millwall, like, I don't want to leave. And then the only two options was Charlton or Arsenal. And I remember going, I ain't going Charlton because they're like our rivals. You got no chance. And then I went to Arsenal trials, but the Arsenal trials, I turned up and I was in my Man United kit, right? Decked out head to toe. And they must have thought, who is this girl thinking? Like, who she thinks she is? But then I managed to get through, and that's obviously then when my career really started at Arsenal. Was
Vic Akers the manager then?
Yeah, so Vic was the manager of the women's team. So then I was at Arsenal. I signed at under 14 level. And then I was there 1 year in the 14s. And then I've done 2 years in the 16s. But in the second year of the under 16s, that's when I got my call up to the senior team, the first team.
Gilly,
you made your debut at like 15 years old. Sorry, Clint.
Yeah, 15 against Birmingham in the League Cup. I come on, and I remember just thinking, do not give the ball away. That's all I kept thinking. Do not give the ball away.
Yeah. I was just going to put a photo on screen. Just talk to me about this team here. when you was at Arsenal. So obviously there's a lot of silverware out front there.
Yeah, that was I was 16 there. Obviously, I'm on the back row, but that team, that Arsenal team was. I don't think you'll ever get a team like it. And I was very fortunate to be a part of a team that had so many good players in. At 16, you just turn up, and I'm starstruck. Like, they're talking to me, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's Kelly Smith, that's Rachel Yankee. Do you know what I mean? And I always wish those players could be playing now, because that team now, if you put that team now into our league, no one would be able to keep up with them.
They used to spank teams like 15s and 16s, wasn't it?
Yeah, just be casual. Like,
you
probably go to a game and be like, what are we going to win by today? And it weren't arrogance. It was just, and then you're thinking, then it was like semi-pro. Like, all the girls were still working, and you just had every single good player played for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Didn't you one season do the quadruple as well? Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, the year that I got called up, like properly, they was in at the time. They was in the semi-finals of the Champions League or the UEFA Women's Cup at the time. And I remember him calling me into the squad after the semi-final, so for the final. So I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Like, and it was like over 2 legs. And the first leg we played in Umeå, which is obviously in Sweden. We went there, it's freezing cold, and it was on a 3G pitch, and Alex Scott scored with literally the last few minutes of the game, and we went back to Boreham Wood with a 1-0 win on aggregate. And I remember leading up to that game, Mary Phillips, left back, was really struggling with injury that week. And Vic Akers pulled me and said, listen, if she can't play, you're playing. And I was only 15 at the time.
Wow.
And I was thinking, I don't think I slept all week. I was thinking, please, Mary, just be fit. Like, I can't be running against these women. Like, and but yeah, she managed to be fit, and it was an incredible game. Had everything that game, and it was there was like Boreham Wood was sold out. Like, it was packed. I think it was maybe 4,000 or something was there at the time. But yeah, it was incredible, and I managed to, I was lucky enough to get a medal as well.
Unreal.
Do you want to answer some questions, or because I've got quite a few here?
Yeah, go on.
So I've got one here from Richard Bennett. He's asking, how good was Kelly Smith? I remember watching her and thinking she was so good.
Kelly Smith is the best footballer, best women's footballer that England has ever produced. Like, she's technically, her left foot is just like a wand, but her vision and this is what it really like makes me feel so gutted, because people, like, especially youngsters in this generation, of course everyone knows who Kelly Smith is, and they should know who she is, but for me, I was very fortunate to play with her for a long time at Arsenal, and then obviously when I moved to Chelsea, she was still at Arsenal and I played against her, and it was probably them playing against her and coming up against her that I actually realised how good she was, and her movement and just their whole vision. But it's such a shame that players like her didn't get to experience like how the league is now today, because if you had a young Kelly Smith playing in our league, you'd be putting her alongside the likes of, do you know what I mean, Frank Kirby and players like that, and she was incredible player.
Yeah.
Got another question here from Abby Dell. Shout out to you, Abby. Watches every week. What has been your toughest challenge in football?
So I'd say there's obviously two when people ask this question, there's 2 things I think of. So obviously the whole thing of my mental health story when I tried to take my life when I was 16. I was struggling with at the Arsenal Academy. I was like really slacking on my coursework and my grades, and I just weren't enjoying it. I was away from family, and obviously then I was also struggling to accept the fact that I was gay. So I tried to take my own life by doing an overdose. So that was probably my toughest challenge I faced in my life in general, but obviously in regards to my football as well. But there's also a time recently when I was in the last 6 months of my career at Chelsea, last 6 months of my contract at Chelsea, and for the first time in my whole senior career, I wasn't playing. I was on the bench week in, week out. And that was probably, in all fairness, when I think about my football career, that was my toughest time to date, because I'd never had, when I was like 16, 17, 18, and I was with Arsenal, I was on the bench, but I wasn't expecting to play. And I sort of was like, you earn your trade, you know what I mean? Like, I was only young. There was players ahead of me with senior internationals that I wouldn't even have dreamed of starting ahead of. But then I started from like 18 onwards. I started every single game in my career, apart from injury. So that was probably my toughest. Was I'm 20, I don't know, I'm probably like 26, 25 maybe, and I'm not playing for the first time. And it wasn't just a one-off game. It was like the last 6 months. So that was probably my toughest challenge, being on the bench at FA Cup final at Wembley and not coming on. And do you know what I mean? That's probably my toughest challenge in football.
I've got another one here from Jake. It's the last one from me, and then you can go, obviously, Covey. Your stats say includes 7 FA Cups, 1 UEFA Cup, 8 league titles, and that's just some of her trophy cabinet. Well, which one means the most? First of all, can I just say, that is crazy. That silverware is crazy. That's
unbelievable.
That's more silverware than my mum's got downstairs. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, what meant the most to you?
I would say they all mean different things. I mean, to even get one winner's medal over your career, they all mean different. But for me, the one that will always stick in my brain is the FA Cup final at Wembley with West Ham. And the reason for that was because the previous year, obviously, I was at Chelsea. I was at Wembley. I was sat on the bench. I didn't come on. We won, but I felt like inside, like we'd lost. I didn't get to lift the trophy with the captain. There were so many things that went on. And I remember sitting in the bar afterwards with my mum and dad, and I said that they knew I was going to leave. They were the only ones who knew I was going to leave. And I remember sitting there and I said to my dad, I'm telling you this now, whatever team I go to next, and he vouched me on this, whatever team I go to next, I'm coming back here next year and I'm going to lead them out for the FA Cup final. And I remember then, when we got to the cup final, I was like, it's actually happened. And I remember standing there at the tunnel. You can hear everything outside. It's like, it gives me, my hairs go up now thinking about it. My whole family, who were there the year before and seen me be so low, was all there in the crowd. I was the captain. Beardy, who in front of me, who I would say probably saved me from the lowest point in my career, was leading me out. It was just like, you know, when you have them fairy tales, you have them moments in life where you think it was all worth it. So for me, that was like the best football memory when it comes down to one of the medals that means the most to me is that one. We lost as well, but for me, I felt like I'd won. Just being there with the club. It was our first ever cup final, our first year as a professional. We weren't meant to be there. Do you know what I mean? It was just the beauty of the FA Cup and the beauty of the story behind it all. That's probably the one that I'll never ever forget.
No, superb.
Another one.
Just a message from Gareth saying, just proves to show that if you ever enter a dark place, you can always turn it around. The best. Well done, girl. So shout out to you there.
Thank you.
Over to you, Covey, mate.
No, yeah, just talking about that, just going back to that episode, it was great to, I said earlier about the wellbeing group that we set up. And it was just great that you were such a big part of that as well, going through what you went through. And then obviously then being there for the people that was in that group as well. I know you helped a lot of people out in that group, and I know I think it's still going now. So like Gareth says, for you to turn it around and make this massive career and win so many titles, I can't believe when I was looking at it today, like how many titles you've actually won. There's a book. There's definitely a book in there. 100% there's a book. There's the book of your life, how many trophies you've won. You're a legend. You're a legend of ladies football. There's another comment. Look, we've got so many comments. Gilly is amazing, such an inspiration to many footballers up and down the country. And that's right. You know, just the last few years, you've just gone up. Like you had your interview and you told everyone about the suicide attempts and things like that. You've been on the news. You're just an unbelievable person. You can tell by all the comments that are coming in now. And so when you give up playing, is management something that you're thinking about? Obviously, you've got so much experience in the game. Surely that's got to be something in the back of your mind that you'd want to do.
Yeah, do you know what? You end up you don't think about retirement until then. It's really starting to catch up on you. Like I'm 30 this year, and I'm like, oh my, I'm actually 30. Like I remember when I was like 16, and you always think, oh, 30 seems so long away. And like now I'm here. And if you'd have asked me this question, I'd say maybe 12 months ago, I would have said no chance. Like my mum and dad always go, you need to stay in the game. Like you've committed and you've given so much of your life to the game.
Yeah.
Why do you want to come away from it? So I'd say probably 12 months ago, I was probably in the situation where I was like, I think I just want a clean break. I want to just go do something different. Like my partner's a courier driver, yeah. So like she's got a van and that. So I was like, my mum's like, no, I know what you're gonna do. You're gonna go and be a van driver. Go and do it. But now, like, I've made the decision that when I do retire, that management is definitely something that I want to go into. And I've got 18 months left at West Ham, and the way I'm feeling right now, in the sense of body wise, mentally, that's probably going to be the time when I call it a day. It might come to 18 months time where I could go, listen, I want to do another year. But obviously there's things like I want to start a family. I do want to go into the management, and I think people probably forget that I've been doing this since I was like 14, 15. And it's taken over. Would you drop down levels and carry on playing for a little while until you could no longer play at all, or would you just stop and go straight into management? Because I know a few managers that would actually have you. Yeah, no, listen, I always sometimes think, give me a little run out, a centre forward. Or like a centre mid, just spray the balls around and just not move. There is a part of me there that might consider it. There's also a part of me, though, that thinks I want to end my career on a high, and I don't want to be remembered. This is how I feel, though. I don't want to be remembered for being slow. Do you know what I mean? I've said, and I said this to my manager as well, that the moment that I can't keep up with a centre forward, or the moment that I know that, because my levels that I set myself for games is one of the things I pride myself on most is consistency. But for me, I have certain standards that if I drop below them, not just for a one-off, but I'm talking if I'm dropping below them weekly on a weekly basis, then I know I'll make that decision that I've got to call it a day. So for me, I don't want to be remembered. I remember when I was little, and I was like 12, 13, watching Mill Lionesses and seeing women running around 38, 39, 40, and I thought, no, I can't do that. Like, I don't want to be remembered for... Yeah, but it's different now. It's different now, isn't it? If your family is still Bermondsey based, what about going full circle and going back and finishing your career at Millwall Lionesses? How romantic would that be? Cool. I don't know why the West Ham fans will be doing that.
You trying to get lynched or what, man?
West Ham that at my door.
Wow. You've already got people pitching for you already in the comment section already. Dean Parrott saying time for me, so you're not going to be short of offers there. Don't worry about it, actually. Listen, all you got to do is just provide me with cup of tea, custard creams, and bourbon biscuits, and I'm sorted.
Wow, you're there, mate. Dean loves a cup of tea. He's at Arlo Ladies. He's a manager of Arlo Ladies. So that's done. Done deal.
I want to talk to you, Gilly, about obviously representing your country. What was that like? What an honour to represent your country. So what was that like playing for the Lionesses? Yeah, so I was involved with England. I got my call up to the under-15s when I was 12. We used to do like 3-day camps. We'd go away Tuesday, come home Thursday. It was like in and out. I think we'd spend the whole day on fitness testing as well. And we used to do that like quite regularly. So I was with the 15s, the 17s, the 19s,
was fortunate enough to win the Euros with the under-19s in 2009. And then it come after
Is there anything you haven't won? Is there anything you haven't won?
I'm just going to drop that one in there. But then I went up to the 20. There was the 21s at the time, or it might have been the 23s. And I remember doing one camp, and Brent Hills was the manager at the time, and he played me at left back, and I ain't a left back. Like, I'll do a job for you there, but I'm not. I'm a centre back. Do you know what I mean? And I remember him pulling me in and saying, "Listen, you've got to play left back." And I said, "I'll do a job for you there, but I feel like you're only going to get like 60% from me. Like, why can't I be given a chance at centre back?" And he basically sat there and he named every person who could basically kick a ball was ahead of me at centre back. Like, I'm talking anyone. Like, goalie was in front of me at centre back, I reckon. No. And I remember, and I just come away from it. And I remember saying to my Arsenal manager at the time, like, it's mentally draining me. Why? Like, I was playing week in, week out for Arsenal at centre back, and I just said to her, "Listen, if there's like 14 people in front of me, like he says there is for centre back, then they don't really necessarily need me." And I remember just making that decision. So then then for the few years after that, I never got a call up to the seniors. And in all honesty, I genuinely thought that was the one thing that was never going to happen for me, was the England seniors. And then Mark Sampson come in, and I got called up for my first camp. And I remember going to Spain, and it was awful. I had such a bad camp. Like, I just was like, what have I done? And it was just, I think it was the nerves, you know what I mean? It was the nerves, the whole thing of it, there was such a hype about me going there, and it was just, I just flopped. And I didn't get called up again. I got called into a meeting, and he basically said, like, these were 3 things he wanted me to work on. And it was like my long passing and my discipline was 2 of the main things, because I was quite known to be vocal on the pitch, little bit mouthy. And I remember going away. I remember going away and going, do you know what? Like, stuff you. Like, I'm going to show you I can do it. And I remember then a year later, after the World Cup, I got called up in September. And he just said, like, obviously I'd improved on the things that he wanted me to improve on. And I remember sitting there, we were playing, I think it was Estonia. Keith Bonus was the Estonia women's manager at the time. And I didn't get on. And we was winning, I think, like 7 or 8-0. And I'm like, is he having a laugh? Like, what's going on? And I automatically become very defensive, because all I wanted was that England cap. That's all I wanted. And he pulled me afterwards, and he just said, like, and it was really nice for him, actually. He just said that he didn't want me to get my first cap for England by coming on as a sub for the last 10, 15 minutes. He wanted me to do it by starting. And so then the next camp, we went to China, and I started against China and against Australia. And it was just, it was such a proud moment, because I genuinely thought, as the years were going on, that was one thing that I was never going to, like, I was never going to be able to say I got an England cap. I got an England seniors cap. So I managed to come away. I managed to nick 9, you know, and then there's 9 caps they can't take off me. So I'm very, very fortunate to represent your country at any level is an honour.
Yeah. What sort of advice would you give? I've got a lot of followers in the women's game, young and like a lot of youngsters. So what advice would you give a young girl starting up in football?
There's so much I could give.
So many challenges facing them, isn't there? So what would you say?
For me, it would just be like, don't let anyone ever tell you that you can't do anything. Whether that be, I've been through it where players or management have said that I can't do this or I can't do that. Well, I'm not a good leader. I'm not a good captain. Things like that I've been through my whole career. But I just think if you're so focused and you're so determined on becoming a pro, which when I was younger, I didn't have that pro contract. I couldn't see pros. Do you know what I mean? Like, now when girls are growing up, they're, even from the age of 10, 11, 12, they're seeing professional footballers playing week in, week out. So for me, it'd be you have to remain focused. Like, for me, I I don't drink. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. Do you know what I mean? My naughtiness might be a takeaway. Do you know what I mean? Or a couple of biscuits here and there. Like, for me, that's my treat. But I sacrificed a lot growing up. I say it's a sacrifice. It was a choice. But I lost out on a lot, and I missed a lot. Like, I'm talking parties, weddings. Do you know what I mean? Going away on holidays. That always comes second, and football always comes first. So if you're serious about wanting to be a pro, you have to put it at the forefront of your mind. You have to get your vision board up. Do you know what I mean? Put up there what you want to picture, what you want, goals you want to achieve, and just don't let anyone ever tell you can't do it, and don't let anyone stand in your way. You know?
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, Gilly, it's been a pleasure. It's been an honour for you to come on. Clearly one of the most decorated footballers in the women's game. You're an absolute legend of the women's game. There's a book, definitely a book, something you've definitely got to think about. And the management thing, obviously you've got a few years left in the year that we'll still follow your progress as a player. But when you become a manager, that's next level. And I wish you all the best. And you're such a lovely person. You're a great human being. And I appreciate you coming on so much.
No, thank you both so much. Like Darren said, if you ever want me to jump on again, just let 100%. Me know. You know, I'm in every Saturday night.
Yeah, we will. We'll hold you to that, definitely.
No worries.
Really, thank you so much.
No worries. See you later.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow. That was great. That was really awesome.
When we come off, we just got to stop going wow all the time. It's like,
it's great.
Every time we come off, it's like, Jesus.
It's great. But again, another great guest with another
Mate,
great...
when you start delving into people and what they've done, and mate, the things that she's won is unbelievable.
And she's only 29. We know that. Well, obviously, of course, you know that, but she's only 29. She's still
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. She could. Obviously, I've watched a lot of women's football, and obviously the level that she's at now, if she went down 2 or 3, even in 5 or 6 years' time, she could go down and boss them levels, and and imagine having that, like a young girl, 17, 18, for Harlow ladies or Bowers or someone like that, and you got Gilly Flaherty coming down to play alongside, playing with you. On the same pitch. How beneficial would that be to a young girl in women's football?
The amount of years of experience and all the experiences that she just mentioned there alone. It's
yeah. I can't wait for the book. I'm telling you, because I'll pre-order that now. I'll pre-order that book now. I'm getting that. I'm getting that. If she was like I say, go on.
Oh, were you going to say something? Carry on.
I was just saying that when I said to her, when she came on and done a bit with us on that mental health WhatsApp group that we started, she's just a really good human being, mate. And for me, I'm just honoured to even have her phone number in my phone, you know. Just them people, you know, they don't, I don't know. They're very rare. It's very rare you find someone like that who's so kind. And just a really amazing, just an amazing human, you know.
Yeah, and yes, you can see like all the messages that are coming through, pure positive. So again,
Abby Mill Lionesses say it'd be a dream for her to come out there.
I'm sure
she's tied it now with a West Ham link, but
yeah.
I'm sure the other Mill lot would appreciate her being there.
We've got our third and final guest waiting in the wings, but again, just one more time, we're going to play a nice reminder from our sponsors. So here we go.
Henry, still good at the old football. Tom, what are you doing Saturday night?
Obviously, innit? I'm watching Coveys Grassroots football show.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to join you.
Listen and make sure you watch it. It's Coveys Grassroots show. It's the nuts. Bush.
Johnny, Tom, Henry, Ledge, Big John. I'm just a legend family.
There we go.
Love it.
Without further ado, here's our third and final guest. Here he is, Scotty boy.
Sorry to keep you waiting, mate.
Bill, that's all right, mate. Bro, just watching that thinking, how am I going to follow on from them? Billy stitched me right up tonight. I tell you what, I done in the last lockdown. I done an Instagram chat with Gilly, and I agree with you, Bill. She's an amazing person. Like I was, when I heard her story for the first time, like it's good to hear it again tonight. But she blew me away. What a player! And it's like what Jake said. Like the silverware she's won, mate. Jesus Christ! I think most pros would be blown away with that sort of silverware behind you.
Yeah. You got to tap her up, mate.
I was looking at that. I was thinking, oh, you got a number, mate. So if you need to send it to me.
He's playing
you and Dean are going to be fighting over it.
Dean's already put in a couple of custard creams in for her, so you're going to have to stop that spot.
How you doing anyway? How you doing, Scott? Anyway, so me and Scott, Clint, and for the people that are watching, me and Scott go way back to our youth, really, in Islington, going to school in Islington Central Foundation Boys School. It was just an amazing time there, wasn't it, mate? We had some good players come out of that school as well.
Unbelievable. If I'm honest, my year weren't that great. we had a few good players, but you're like below me was obviously you, top player, Simon Spencer, Jermaine Winter.
Yeah.
But like your year, Michael Garrett and some of them, there was some good players, Bill. Some really good players. If I was honest with you, I was half gutted that I was a couple of years older because your year won everything. my year, we'd come up against Cyber Grover. You had we used to play against Jamie Victory and players like that. Jason Gerrity was another one. My year we used to play against. It was some good players. Darryl Cox was at Cardinal Power. Remember Darryl? He was a good player as well.
Yeah. I played up front with him at Chap. Me and him up front. Imagine that.
Player Darryl. One of them players, he's quick and it's a good era, Bill, isn't it? And some good players, obviously a bit younger. You had Joe Cole come through, didn't you, a little bit later?
Yeah.
Well, so it was in Camden.
All through Chapel Boys, wasn't it? Chapel Boys, we blew it away there. I was funny you should mention Jason Garrett. I was talking to him today. He's looking to get back involved in football as well. So hopefully we'll get him involved in something when we're allowed to.
He was a good player, Jason.
Yeah. So Scott, talk to us about when you left sort of, isn't it? And how did your non-league career start?
It's a funny one, really, because I played to a decent level. I played in the Ryman. I had a spell at Enfield under Graham Roberts, and then I went to Arlo for a little while under Ian Allinson. I sort of fell out of love with playing, Bill, if I'm honest. I think where I was at Cranham Manor and I was under Richard Allen, who was, I still say, probably the best coach I've ever played for. He was unbelievable, so before his time. And I got so into coaching at an early age because he was so good. I sort of always knew that that's the way I wanted to go. And I didn't really take football as seriously as, looking back now, I regret it a little bit. I was mixed. I wanted to coach, I wanted to play. And then I was coaching by the time I was 18. So I was coaching young grassroots teams at 18. Then I got involved in all the schools and stuff. And then Richard got the head of recruitment job at Tottenham. And then I went into Tottenham with him, which was amazing club. Like I started there when I was at Luxborough Lane, the old training ground, and then we went to Brentford for a little while the new training ground was getting done, and then I had a little spell at the new training ground. And then Richard took the academy manager's job at QPR, and then I went there with him there. So I had 2 years at QPR, and then I sort of again. This is going to sound, it might get me in trouble saying this, but I just. And the FA a little bit, Bill, all these guidelines come in. They brought the PMA system out, which for people who don't know, it was a new elite EPPP, Elite Premier Player Program. So it was so much work on a computer. I was doing like 12, 14 hours a week on a computer, and I was part-time coach at the time. So you had to do session plans, and then you had to do weekly progression things. And I just had enough of it, Bill. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to have a break, because my family was getting bigger. And then I just got involved doing bits of one-on-ones. I went over to Stortford for a little while. Simon Marzell took me over there. To be fair, he was the one who got me back in, got the love of it back for me again. And I started coaching one of their younger sides over there. And then, where did I go from Bishop Stortford? Then Bishop Stortford. Yeah, then I obviously bumped into Terry again. Terry was at Harlow at the time with Dean. And then Dean gave me an opportunity, which I'll always be grateful for, to come in at Harlow to work with some of the forwards. Great group there. And obviously Dean's doing a good job over there. Very unlucky last year. They should be promoted, really. They should be in the same league as where I am now. But obviously the lockdown and everything sorted out. So to be fair, I was grateful for Dean because he opened the door to women's football for me. So I'll always remember that. And then I sort of come away from there. And it was funny because I approached Billericay to work with their forwards. And then I got called in for a meeting. And the meeting went from working with their attackers to taking a manager's job. All in the same meeting. It was like, I weren't expecting it at all. They was having a big change over there. They was changing everything round. If I'm honest, even when I was at Arlo, we played him in the FA Cup. I don't think Dean was well at the time. I don't think he was there. And it was one of them clubs that I looked at and I just thought I'd love to get involved. Now, there was a league above, a good squad. And I just thought, yeah, maybe that's a club I could get involved in. So like I said, I spoke to Kim, and then I went and met Kim and one of the owners, and they offered me a job. And to be fair, Bill, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a great club. Like Kim Costa, overseas head of football for women, she's amazing what she's done there from the first team down to the younger age groups. And the owner's great. We've got Greg Lake, who oversees the women. He's the owner that sort of funds all the women's side, puts a hell of a lot of money into it out of his own pocket. He's great supportive as well. And yeah, it's been brilliant, just apart from the lockdown, mate.
Yeah.
Scott, I think you missed out a bit. You didn't tell me that you represented England.
Who's that? It's like Trevor Francis, isn't it?
I tell you what. When Darren mentioned Trevor Francis, what a player he was. I remember when he scored an overhead kick for QPR. Trevor Francis was one of them players, and that kit is from his era. But when Darren mentioned him, you forget about players, Bill, didn't you?
Yeah.
Darren brought him up. I was just sitting there thinking, what a player Trevor Francis was. He was.
Yeah. He was the first £1 million player, wasn't he?
Brian Clough, when he signed Forest.
That's right. Yeah.
But he was.
He couldn't have been a bad player if Cloughy rated him.
No, exactly. But it was. But yeah, that's my story. And like I said, looking back at it, quite fortunate to be fair, Bill. So
you've worked with some top players. Obviously the one-to-one things and obviously I speak to the Arlo lady players and a few other players, and always complimentary of you and what you've done and the way you sort of coach them into, your coaching goes from there. Like you take it up, you take it proper up. So tell us some of the players that you've coached. Don't worry about name dropping. We're here for that. We're all over that. The best one.
So I was fortunate. I fell on one by mistake. I remember one session at Tottenham. It was a Saturday morning, and at the time, Andres Villas-Boas was the manager there. And I still say to this day, he's the best coach I've ever seen. The geezer was unbelievable, Bill. I used to watch all these sessions. When he came in, he said to all the academy coaches, "You're welcome to watch our sessions." I went and watched nearly every one. He was next level. Was he a manager? Probably not, because he was very young. So I think he didn't get taken seriously as a manager. But what a coach! He was unbelievable coach. And at that time when he was there, the whole Modric thing going to Real Madrid come up, and me and my mate Josh, we walked out of training with the under-8s. And then he was training on his own. Because the deal was going through, they made him to train on his own. And then me and Josh spoke to him. Didn't think nothing of it. The next day, we went back in. And as I was leaving, he was on his own again. So I walked over to him, started talking to him. And he asked me, he's like, "Do you mind doing a bit with me?" And I was like, What do you mean? Like, he's just served some balls into me and.
Hold on. Luka Modric said, "Oh, fancy doing a bit of me." Like,
well, he was training on his own, so there's no way I was going to say no to that. So,
actually, Luka, no, I don't, Luka. All right?
You've got something back at home, so.
So he had me serving balls into him. Literally, he wanted me to just smash the ball into him as hard as I could, sort of below knee height, because he wanted to work on his touch. And he was doing that round, he does that outside of the foot pass that he does. So he had two like agility poles in the ground. So I was smashing the ball along the floor one way, and he was just literally with the outside of his foot bending it around both poles back into my feet. And it was like, I was trying my hardest, Bill. I was hitting the ball harder and harder and harder, and his touch was getting better and better and better. And it's when I walked away from that, like I've heard you say it so many times, it was that was the level. I just thought that's the level. And then 2 days later, he went and signed for Real Madrid, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that.
You was partly responsible for getting him to Madrid. Is that what you're trying to say?
I was involved in it. No, it was about half an hour, 40 minutes. I worked for him, and he signed a shirt for my son, gave me a pair of boots, and he's an amazing guy. And then he went on and won the Ballon d'Or, and I don't think many people can say that they've had a kick about with him. And I was lucky. I've been very lucky, Bill, because I've worked with quite a lot of pros now. I've done a lot in Portugal. I went out to Portugal, worked with some of the boys at Benfica, Porto, Braga, Sporting Lisbon, and I do it over here as well. Some of the young Chelsea boys I still work with now. One of the boys I've just worked with recently without a club. He's just gone into a club, played 90 minutes for Reading in the FA Cup. But one of the best boys, you said the best players, obviously Modric was one there, but one that stands out for me is Harvey Elliott, the boy. He's on loan at Blackburn at the minute. Liverpool paid big money for him. So I had Harvey for 2 years at QPR. Amazing player. Player. So when I went into QPR, I signed my contract, and I started on a Sunday. For some reason, it was a game. So I went to the game, and he was playing a year up. I was doing the under-11s, and he was an under-10. And Richard Allen said to me, look, keep an eye out for the little one. He plays a year up. He's playing left back. And I looked at him, and he's done absolutely nothing. And I just said to Rich after, like, he's way out of his depth, Rich. Like, he should be playing a year up. But Richard said, well, where'd you play him? I said, left back. He said, no. He said, that's where the other coach was playing him. He said, have a look at him in training Tuesday and then tell me what you think. So in training on Tuesday, I'd done some 1v1s, 2v2s, and he absolutely blew me out of the water. Like, his feet were ridiculous. I went over to his dad after training, and I said, he's playing number 10 Sunday. And his dad was called Scott as well. I still talk to him now. And he was like, what, number 10? And I said, yeah. I said, he's going to play number 10. He played on a Sunday as a 10, done all right, finding his feet. Then about 2 or 3 games in was all right. And then we played Chelsea. So Chelsea we always got battered by Chelsea. Chelsea was Chelsea. They battered everyone.
Yeah.
And we lost the game 5-4, which was the closest we'd probably ever come to drawing or beating them, wherever you want to look at it. And he absolutely tore Chelsea a new one. Like, when I mean single-handedly, Bill, I've never seen like a one-man display like it. He was like a man possessed, playing a year up as well. So he was playing against boys that was older than him. And I had him for 2 years, and then I come away, and I was gutted to leave QPR, and he was probably the main reason why I was gutted, because I had 2 years of him, and he was developing so quick, Bill, that I wanted to be part of it still. I wanted to try and see it through and go for it. And I left, and then I sort of stayed in contact with him. And then last year I went to Spain, Alicante in Spain. He was playing. I went to watch a player that I worked with called Dennis play for England, and Harvey was playing. And then he didn't know I was there. After the game, this was his first England cap. I was there with my son, so I took Albert. Albert was 6, I think. After the game, I was talking to his dad, and Harvey come out. He come walking over to me, and it was quite emotional, to be fair. Like, I got a bit of a lump in my throat. I could see he was getting a little bit teary, and he gave Albert his England shirt. And he said to him, but that's for like everything that your dad's done for me. And I was like, Harvey, that's like your first England. He said, no, I want him to have it. And I looked at his dad, and yeah, I got like a bit of a tear. It was, and that's why we do what we do, Bill, because it's things like that. I just thought he didn't have to do that, and obviously his words were like, if it wasn't for you, I might still be playing left back somewhere.
Yeah, well, of course he is.
No,
and that was on his verge, but yeah, he was probably one of the best. Xavier Simons is another one I worked with at Chelsea. Kai Corbett's at West Ham, who's another really good player. And so I'm on that side. I'm really lucky, Bill. But I've never stayed away from Grassroots. I still work with Grassroots players. I've never wanted to steer away from that because that's where it all started for me. And I didn't want to be known, even though people say, I'm an elite attacking coach. Yeah, I do work with elite players, but I work with Grassroots players as well because I never want to lose my identity as a coach as well.
Yeah. How have you found it at Billericay with your obviously the stop-start?
Do you know what, Bill? It was funny because I always wanted to be a manager, but didn't realise how hard it would be, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's 24/7, mate, isn't it? 24/7.
I made the biggest mistake that I went straight in there, and I'm going to be honest, I went in there and I tried to do everything. I tried to manage, I tried to coach, I tried to mentor, I tried to do everything, and you can't. You just you can't do it. Like it won't work because it's too much. And then we had 2 games. We got off to won our first game of the season, and then we lost 2 games back to back against Ipswich, who are a phenomenal team. We lost against them 3-0, and then we lost against Hashtag. And the first time I spoke to Franklin, funny enough, and Richard, and they just said, you've got to get help, and then Rudy came in for a little while. He had a little spell, done quite well. And then obviously Terry Harrison come available. And obviously Terry's one of our mates, Bill, from years ago. And for me, it was a no-brainer. I did want Terry in from the start, but obviously he was at Charlton and he was trying to progress, obviously, into the Championship or WSL, sort of go that way. So he come out of there and I got into a conversation with him. I managed to get him over to Billericay, and it just all seemed to settle for me, Bill. I was happy. We've got Steffi as well there, another coach, fantastic coach, which I always wanted a female in my team as well. So it's not predominantly a male environment, is in the backroom staff, so the girls feel comfortable that it's a bit of a balance and a split. And we got the balance right. And then we won a couple of FA Cup games. So we got into the second round of the FA Cup where we drew Ipswich, funnily enough. But that game has obviously been put on hold and the lockdown stop-start. It's the same as you, Bill. It's, you gather a bit of momentum, everyone's back, and then it sort of the rug gets pulled from under your feet again. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure that we're going to get back, mate, if I'm honest, this season.
No, I'm the same. I don't think we are either.
Yeah, it's
Clint,
a shame.
Clint, did you have some questions, Clint, or did you have?
Yeah. Well, I had one of my own, and then there's a couple questions in the comments. So I'll just go with my one first. So Scott, you've gone through like a list of players that you've worked with, but there's one manager that you've worked with as well. Talk to me about this guy here, because he's got stories for days. I'm just imagining him being a right character.
That man is phenomenal. He's phenomenal. I never forget one day, it was before the, I should be able to remember it because Tottenham don't get in many finals. It was Tottenham got in the League Cup final. I can't remember it was Chelsea or Man United. They got in it a couple of years on the spin. I think they won one and lost one. But I was training with was doing the under-9s. So the first team was training on the main pitch. Then the under-9s, we was training on the one behind. And then Harry said to me before, bring them up after they can watch. So we went up after and watched. And then you had Addy Bayor, Gareth Bale was there at the time, Jermaine Defoe was all there having a little kick around with the 9s on the side. And then the type of person Harry Redknapp was, he come over and he was like, boys, you got your boots? Like, this lot of crap. The coach would be here at 10 o'clock in the morning. I think I'm going to take you lot instead, and he was right in amongst it. You would never walk past him without him saying hello. You'd get in the morning, there'd be a copy of the Racing Post shoved at half hanging out of his door. And he's the nicest bloke you will ever meet in your life. How you see him on telly is how he is in his day-to-day job. I would never say a bad word about him. The guy's he's amazing, and you know, Bill's a manager in the men's world, and you know he's had an amazing career. And I would have liked to have seen him take the England job. I would have liked to have seen that. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen him because the thing with Harry, he done no coaching. So at Tottenham, you had Joe Jordan and Kevin Bond used to do everything, like all the coaching. Harry used to come out and he'd manage it, but he was a man manager. And there was a story I asked him. I was dying to ask him about Paolo Di Canio. I said to him, like, with Paolo, how did you get him playing like how he did after everything that had gone on? And he said it was with Paolo. He said it was simple. All I had to do with Paolo was tell him he was the best in the world. He said I used to tell him all the time. He said, I'd go to the toilet, he'd be standing there washing his hands. I go, Paolo, you're the best player in the world. I walk past him in the corridor. Paolo, you're the best player in the world. We'd be training up, he'd be doing his boots. Paolo, you're the best player in the world. And he said, I told him that so many times. He used to walk out on the pitch every game, believing he was the best player in the world. He said, that's all I used to do. I made him believe he was the best player in the world. And he said, to be fair, that season at West Ham, he was phenomenal, Paolo. And that's the sort of effect that Harry had on players. Like his man management was phenomenal. He knew a player. You know, he knew how to, if he had to put his arm around you, he would. You know, if you needed a bollocking, he'd give you a bollocking. I watched quite a lot of him as well. And lucky to be in and around him at the time as well. Learned a lot from him. Yeah.
It's amazing that you can take something from that into your management career now. Sorry, I know Clint's got some questions now. Go on, Clint.
I was just going to read out some from the comment section. So Richard Bennett saying it's a bit of a long one. Do you think that coaching ability alone will get a determined coach/manager to the level that they want to be at? Or would you advise to network with as many senior coaches as possible?
Do you know what? That's a very good question, because if I'm honest with you, I've got coaching qualifications coming out of my backside, but I've never applied for a job. I've always been offered jobs, and that is simply because it's who I know. I know people in clubs, and I've been brought in because I'm known to them. They know me, and they've given me an opportunity. And I've never had to. Like, I went to Tottenham, then from Tottenham to QPR, and then obviously now I work for myself. But it's always like even Dean and Terry bring me into Harlow, and then Billericay offered me a job there. I've never actually had to apply for a job, but working in football for so many years, as I have done now, you've got to build up a network. I always say, talk to people. Richard Allen used to say to you, when you go to a tournament with Tottenham and you see the other coaches, like I remember being at tournaments, meeting Peter Beardsley, meeting Alvin Martin, just meeting all these people. Richard says, go and talk to them. Go and talk to them. He said, you just got to go and talk to them. They'll give you the time of day, and then you're building a network. And I think building a network is the main thing. Coach as much as you can, watch as much as you can. I'm still learning all the time now. I still sit up most nights watching other coaches, Jonah and other coaches on Instagram, on YouTube, trying to adapt my session, trying to learn stuff. But I always say, do your networking. It's important to know people, because unfortunately, most of the time in football, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah. It's been like that for years, though, ain't it? I know there's some people whinge about it. It's not, about opportunities and things like that. But opportunities come from, like you. Like, I've never applied for a job, never. The job I'm in now, someone approached me and asked if I'd be interested if it come available. Yeah, I would. The previous job, an old friend I used to play with asked me if I'd want it. The job before that, someone I used to play with asked me if I'd want to work with them. It's mental. Like Dean at Arlo, I knew Dean. We had a chat, and I knew Terry. I knew Terry wanted to get involved in women's football, so I spoke to Dean. Dean then spoke to Terry. Terry then spoke to you, and you got. Do you know what I mean? It's networking at its finest, and it all. When you sit down and think about it, you think, fuck. You know what it is? It's all about networking. It's all about networking. Making my black book, mate. My black book is priceless.
Yeah,
priceless.
It's like I got him. I started working with an agent who wanted me to do some bits in Portugal for him, and then on the back of that, I went out and done 2 sessions. Bill, I was sitting in a restaurant with Rui Costa. You know, I'm sitting there thinking, and then Luis Vidigal walked in, who played for Napoli, and I'm sitting around the table with these guys. I've never felt so much out of my depth. But then I walked away with their phone numbers, and I still text them now. Rui Costa's the director of football at Benfica, but I'm sitting at a table thinking, fucking, you know, this, it's surreal. You know, I was having lunch a couple of months back, more not a couple of months back, about 6 months ago with Les Ferdinand. You know, I knew Les through QPR anyway, but through a mutual friend, I needed to introduce someone. I'm sitting there with them. And it's only because clubs I've worked in, like 27 years I've been coaching now, Bill. So it's a long time. And I didn't just wake up yesterday and I've got all these contacts and opportunities. It's built up. People probably think, how did he get in there? How did he get in there? It's 27 years is a long time. It's more than half my life.
Yeah. And you've got to get along with people. You don't ever, one thing I've learned is don't, you know, try your hardest, obviously, not to don't burn bridges, don't alienate people, you know, you just got to just try and get along, you know, try and get along with people. There's going to be people that you instantly don't get along with, but the bigger your network, the more opportunities will come your way.
You don't know when it will be as well in maybe 5-10 years.
Yeah, so you don't know who's watching as well. You don't know who's watching your journey. You don't know who's watching.
And it is a very small world, Bill. It's such a cliche, I know, but football is. Well, everyone knows everyone. You spoke about Greg Lake. He followed me on Twitter the other day, so I know he's lining me up for the next for when Kevin fouls. when it all goes Pete Tong for Kev, I know Greg's going to be on the blower to me. They won 2-0 today, so he's Kev's on the up a little bit, mate. But
Kev's Ledge. We played at Wadham. He was at Wadham together with Kev. But that's again, you know, there's another contact from someone I played football with 32 years ago. Now he's the manager of Billericay. You know, it's mental. You just got to keep your contacts, continually grow your contacts, and you know, just be nice.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a small world, mate. It's a very, very, very small world, and you know, people talk and there's so many opportunities out there, and you get along with people. Some people create opportunities that ain't even there for you. You know what I mean? Like with you went to Billericay as to do striker coach. You've obviously come across really well, and then you've ended up walking out with a manager's job. You know, you know what I mean? So it's amazing, mate, and we thank you for coming on, sharing your story with us. Obviously, friends now for over 30 odd years. Once the lockdown's over, I'll be over to support you and Terry. And if you want me to do a bit of striker coaching with the girls, with T or anyone, let me know.
But look, I just wanted to thank you as well for having me on, especially with some of the guests that you're having. But it's a great show, boys. And honestly, I do watch it every week, and it seems to be getting better and better. And hopefully, you know, your viewers get up and it gets popular and popular, and you know, it really, really takes off. Yeah, I really mean that.
No, thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
No worries.
Top man. See you later, Scott. Take care, mate.
No, bye. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
We have to say wow, because again.
Yeah. Well, mate, he's coached some unreal players. He's been in the company of some unbelievable people.
Just that story alone, that was enough for me. That was crazy. To think that he's then gone on to Madrid, Ballon d'Or, and all from those little things there. It's just crazy, man. And one thing that he said, which I already knew already, but again, it's just nice to hear from someone else's point of view. It's about networking. You know, you can't just sit there and wait for opportunities to happen. You've got to make it happen. I think we talked about it a couple of weeks ago when we had Rudy on, and obviously hearing his story about how he got into it, and meeting Gifton Williams and obviously Jamie O'Hara. And again, coaches, you know, players, whoever want to make something themselves, even within media, you know, that's the way to go.
The likes of like him and like Scott and Terry, who are now at Billericay, they when we first went over to Harlow, like Terry worked for me, he started off with me at when I first went to Epping. Terry was with me at Epping. He was the first coach with me at Epping Town. Then obviously he went. I then met Dean. You speak to Dean, like what I said to Scott, and then Terry. You could tell that Terry and Scott have had this passion to get involved in the ladies' game. They got hooked by it. You know, they once they'd had a taste of it, they was like, oh, this is it. This is where I want to be. And they've done really well. You know, Terry's been at some great clubs. He's been at Arlo, Bowers, Charlton, and now Billericay. Now they're going to be in the spotlight because that's a big club. You know, it's a big club with big ambitions. They've got the academy starting up now. You know, Kevin's just took over the men's team. It's all happening there now. It's a positive drive that they've got going on over there now.
Yeah.
So we wish them both well.
Even going back a guest, obviously with Gilly's story, just hearing how well decorated she is, as a player, and to think that she's not even hit 30 yet. I know we said it earlier, but I'm just going to say it again. She needs to pass on that information to the next generation.
Yeah, 100%.
In as well in the comment section, and I saw the comments. Abby, don't you worry. She said that she's willing to go from Millwall to West Ham just to be playing underneath her if that is the case, or playing with her. Yeah. But I just goes to show how well respected she is as a player. So
yeah, just an amazing person, mate. Really good person. Unbelievable player. To make your debut at 15.
Wow. And
to win the quadruple with Arsenal, the double with Chelsea.
Crazy.
You know, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then Darren as well, with his Worthington Cup final against Liverpool.
How about that fucking penalty against Liverpool? You know, just
it's meant to wait 4 or 5 minutes before he could take it. No pressure, and he just bangs it in.
Yeah.
But he's three unbelievable guests. We just got to hope that everyone enjoyed it. Thanks to Johnny Fisher as well again for the top and for the advert.
Definitely.
We really appreciate it.
Getting some feedback now as well from people listening as well. Peter saying from the first show to now, what a difference, gents. Brilliant. Again, thank you for the feedback. Feedback like that means the world to us, trust me. Carol Bates saying, don't know how I haven't heard of your show before now, but what great guests you've had on, and a good way to listen to you all. Thank you very much for that. Abby's listening in. Future signing for West Ham. Thank you very much, Abby. Saheem, shout out to you, Saheem, as well. Quality show as usual. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Saheem. Top man.
And yeah, that is it for this week. As you said, phenomenal.
Looking forward to next week's show already.
Looking forward to next week's, yeah. Should we just keep on the down low for a little bit now?
Yeah. Let's enjoy the ride of tonight's show.
Yeah. I'm gonna give Richard the last comment on screen. Best show on a Saturday night. You are so relevant. Thank you very much, Richard. Love that.
That's the main goal. That's all we want to be, is relevant.
That's all we want to do. We just try to stay relevant. You know what I'm saying, on a Saturday night. Thank you very much for listening as well. And if you're watching this back, as always, just follow me and Covey and the show as well. Socials are along the bottom there somewhere. You'll be able to find Covey and me on social media somewhere. And again, thank you. If you're a first-time listener, thank you for listening. Hopefully we'll see you guys and girls next week. And take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And peace. Oh, yeah. And by the way, Jake, thank you very much as well. One more time. Thank you very much. Cheers. Yeah.